For the first time on this pod, we officially have an athlete with us, so we're going to get right to it without further ado. Ryan alongside David. David.
Neither of us are the athlete. Let's make that clear.
We've been looking forward to this day. We're looking forward to this.
Yes, we have some athleticism in the booth for the first time with us. Our 4th episode, we finally have someone who can run, jump, and catch. Damon Clapper, star, I would say position, but really just star football player because you play every single position. How are you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, another summer training camp. How have the first few practices gone so far?
It's been good. It's been a little tougher this year just because I'm working full-time now, and so I'm missing a lot of like the meetings and stuff like that, but it's still good to be out there on the field with guys and running around.
Well, anybody who's watched Northwestern football in the last handful of years knows you, but let's kind of set your backstory for those who might not know you as well. This is going to be your 5th season playing Northwestern football, so as veteran as it gets at the college level, you've played quarterback, you've played on the defense, and now last year, about halfway through, you got switched to tight end, but it came out of the backfield a lot, lined up out wide a lot. Caught a ton of touchdowns, racked up a bunch of yards. Are you excited to be back in that position again?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited about it. I definitely don't think that defense was the place for me. So it's good to be back on offense, have the ball in my hands. So it's
awesome.
Exciting.
Along those lines, going into your 5th season of college football, what's your perspective and how are you attacking it versus you think back all those years ago when you were a freshman showing up on this campus for the first time? How has your perspective changed from attacking your first year of college football to now remarkably your 5th?
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a lot different. Just thinking about it, like my future sight is a lot different. Like I'm looking to the future a lot. I got married this summer too, and so
congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate
congrats.
it. So a lot of things in my life have changed, and so I'm definitely like thinking about where my future is going to be, like getting a full-time job and maybe seeing a future somewhere in some semi-pro ball or something like that. So it's definitely more future-minded.
For sure. So you now have a wife who will be in the stands watching you. We run UNWEagles.com, the broadcast of the game. Ryan's our play-by-play guy. How would she feel if kind of like the NFL games where they have like the wives hooked up to a camera and we can see their reactions all game? How would she feel about if we put that camera on her?
She would probably hate that.
Okay. Maybe we won't run with that idea then. So that's awesome. Well, again, congrats on that and entering your 5th year.
Yep.
So, yeah, Ryan, you want to follow up with that?
Yeah, so Damon, obviously you've played with a lot of different groups here. Now Coach Moore has been at it in his head coaching role for a chunk of years now. We haven't started the season officially yet as far as games go, but you guys have had a handful of practices. How would you say this team so far, I know it's early, but maybe feels different than last year or past years going back a few years?
Yeah, I think that a big thing for this year is we have a ton of new guys. So we actually have more new guys this year than we have returners. And so that is definitely different in the fact that a lot of guys haven't been in the culture of Northwestern for as long as me and some other guys. And so there's definitely a little bit of a shift there. And so the older guys have just been working really hard to keep pounding in the Northwestern culture to get it on the field again. So
you mentioned culture. I want to bring up a similar word, identity.
Sure.
You can mention whether it's playing style or something off the field. What would you say the identity will be for 2022 Northwestern Eagles football?
I think as in every year, we're definitely a God-centered team. We want to make sure that that's the foremost thing that we're worried about is just honoring God. But we have some dudes out there on the field, and I think that this year it's going to be a lot different than past. I think that we're going to do some great things. We have young guys, like I said, but really talented guys. So we're really looking to do some different things. But, yeah, God-centered but winning team.
Oh, absolutely.
What's the most important thing? Because you talked about you have a lot of new guys and you and the other veterans are trying to pound some things into them. Yeah. What's maybe the most important thing that you've sat the freshmen, the newcomers down and said, guys, we have to do this to accomplish our goals of being a God-centered team and being successful on the field?
I think a big thing is just being flexible to start. Coming in freshman year, a lot of times guys have this idea of where they're going to play or like what role they're going to play on the field. And so you just have to be really willing to be flexible in that. I played quarterback here for 2 years, then played linebacker. And so you just have to be flexible and know that the coaches have the best vision of what's best for the team. So a lot of times you come in, especially if you're like a star player in high school, you want to be the number one guy. You were the number one guy. So you got to realize that there's a little bit of a change there when you're coming in as a freshman.
For sure. Flexibility's been your middle name since you got here, so you're a good guy to talk about that.
Yep.
Talking about preseason now, we're a few weeks in. You guys have been out there working really hard. You've had, certain scrimmages and practices. Let's start right away. When everybody moves onto campus, you guys get here and then you leave right away. Yep. You hop on a bus, you drive up for a camp you guys call Breakaway.
Yep.
Why don't you just kind of give our listeners, people who might not know what that is, why don't you tell us what that is, where it is, and most importantly, how it really impacts you guys as a team?
Sure. Yeah, so we leave on Thursday afternoon, and we go to Hope Shores. It's right up by St. Cloud, and we're there for all of Friday and then come back Saturday. And really what that is just kind of setting the pace for the culture. It's definitely a lot of like team bonding and stuff like that. So we want to get to know the guys, and we want to get people out of their comfort zone a little bit to open up to the older guys and just be willing to share who they are and what they're all about. And then it's just, setting the pace for what the culture looks like off the field especially. Definitely those relationships that you build are going to help out on the field. But it's really more about like the off the field, like who are we as Northwestern students, but also players and then sons of God. So.
What's the goofiest, funniest like camp style game or activity you guys do while you're up there?
So every year we do a skit, a lip sync, and so. Most years it's been like Disney stuff. So this year, my breakaway team, we did "You're Welcome" from Moana.
There you go.
So that's definitely
you were the Rock there.
I was not actually. So we like to get the freshmen involved a little bit. So we had a freshman guy from Mississippi be Maui. It was pretty fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So, Damon, when you're going into a new season, you know the drill. You don't have to rush to get to September. September is eventually going to come. But when we talk about looking ahead, as far as the whole schedule goes, maybe you don't have to look ahead to, October when we get later in the season, but what do you look forward to when it comes into a new season? You know September is going to come, but what do you most look forward to when you get to that meat of the schedule, when you're looking ahead? Sure. Do you circle anything? Do you look ahead to a certain team? What are you looking for?
No, when I was thinking about this, it's tough because it's like, you want to treat every game the same. And so I don't think that there's ever been a season where it stands out like, oh yeah, these guys, I get to play them again. And so I definitely think that just every game we look to go out and compete no matter who we're playing. But yeah, it's just the competition of it is what I really look forward to no matter who we're playing.
We know a big thing about football is you can play in any condition. Mm-hmm. It can be 90 and humid out there in Reynolds Field, or it can be 36 and it's spitting snow and it's raining and it's gross.
We had that Crown game last year in the blizzard. You had a couple touchdowns in that game.
Yeah.
Is there a favorite type of weather that you like to play in, specifically now as a tight end?
It's hard because, you look at the heat and it's like, you're exhausted, you're way more tired. But then in the cold, like everything hurts way more. Catching the ball, getting hit, the ground is hard. Like everything is just exponentially more hurtful in the cold. But then you're just way more exhausted in the heat. So I don't know. It's always fun to play in the snow. But if it's under freezing, then it gets a little tough. But we have a little joke going around that every time like snowflake, snow game. Like we'll be running around on the field just yelling snow game, having some fun with that. So I definitely enjoy the snow, but the cold is tough for sure.
We were talking about homecoming Saturday. I mean, let's just have 55 to 65, leaves churning, little breeze, absolutely. Fall weather. How about that?
That would be perfect. I would love that.
Let's get every game like that.
Yeah.
At least the people working the game, we appreciate that
right,
type of weather too.
Yeah.
So, but that Crown one was fun last year in the snow. What's the mentality like defense to offense? I mean, you made it look really easy last year. You're lining up, starting, linebacker out there playing. Then all of a sudden you're playing tight end and you're an all-conference level tight end. But it can't just be that easy. What's the mentality like defense to offense?
Yeah, absolutely. I really struggled switching to defense big time. I played quarterback for basically my whole entire career. So when I switched to defense, it had been 6 years since I played defense. And so there's definitely a mentality switch there. biggest thing is you just don't have the ball in your hand. And so you have to be out there trying to stop the ball. And I think that was the biggest thing for me is I just struggle with tackling and then the meanness that you need of it to really like go out there and pound guys. So I'm good with running with the ball and getting away from people,
Yep.
but not as great with the mentality of trying to basically kill the guy on the other side of the ball as me. But yeah.
So we've touched a little bit on last season. Obviously, you were thrown into a new role that you haven't played before, had to adjust on the fly real quick. I think back to the Westminster game. It was your guys' coming out party. I mean, at least I think David and I would say that. You put up 45 points. You scored 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Receiving, rushing, scoop and score, punt block.
Yep.
So when you build off that going into this season, whether it be stats or off the field, what are you looking to accomplish? You know it's your final ride.
Yeah.
You know in a couple of months this is all going to be over. You know, not to put you down, make you sad or anything, but you talked about it. You know there's a future beyond football.
Yep. Yeah, so I think the biggest thing for me is I just want to be as impactful as I can be. And no matter what that role is, you know, if I get injured and I'm on the sideline, like I want to be encouraging the guys that are going out there and playing. Obviously, I want to put up stats. Like no one playing football doesn't want to put up stats, but I want to do it in a way that's like beneficial to the team. Like I don't want to just make it all about me and like, oh, this is my last year, I gotta, you know, get mine or stuff like that. Like I just want to be impactful for the guys around me. So if I'm out there scoring and that's impactful, then so be it. If I'm on the sideline cheering guys on, then so be it.
This may not hit it all, but I have to ask. I assume you watch some football. You watch some NFL, college football major. Is there, you could say, a tight end or a pass catcher, someone who you specifically enjoy watching and saying, you know what, I want to make a play like Mr. Kelsey or Mr. Kittle or Kyle Rudolph.
Sure.
I'll stop throwing names out.
Yeah, I think that's tough because I'm definitely not built like a lot of NFL tight ends.
Sure.
And so I look, I think, more to receivers, to be honest with you, just because I'm a smaller build guy. I mean, I'm still big, but not NFL tight end big. And so I don't know. I like Thielen. He's a really cool guy.
Yeah.
Now I'm blanking the Rams.
Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp. He's
yeah.
a beast. So
Yeah.
I think it's just cool seeing guys that are like more my build type going out there with whatever skills they have and making stuff work. But I like Gronk. He's a cool guy.
There you go.
But you're a Vikings fan, right?
I'm not actually.
What? Okay.
So my dad is from Pennsylvania, and he was the youngest of his brothers growing up, and so he didn't want to be a Pennsylvania fan, so he started cheering for the Patriots.
Oh.
So I've been a Patriots fan.
Well, that was
growing
pretty
up,
convenient.
so-
He picked a team, and it happened to be one that's only won about 25 Super Bowls.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, he really liked Belichick's philosophy of coaching.
Well, it's
so-
worked out
yeah.
clearly. So. Well, you talk about your personal goals. I loved your answer there, very team-oriented. But let's be honest, you wouldn't mind throwing a touchdown again, would you?
Absolutely not. I would love
we
to make
we
that
won't give
happen.
away any of Boomer's trick plays or anything like that because we're just speculating here. But I know you wouldn't mind throwing one.
Yeah, I would love to. I'm always willing to play quarterback.
Are you
again
in?
when I
Are
have
you
the
in
chance.
Boomer, the offensive coordinator's ear with that? Like Boomer, my arm looks good. It feels good.
A little bit.
Are you
I've
pestering
been out
him
there
about
throwing,
that?
and I feel great. I threw some 60-yard
Okay.
bombs the other day.
I
so
like
I
it.
don't know.
Let's
We'll see.
keep doing that in front of Coach Boomer. So, talking about the coaches, how have these guys impacted you? Because Ryan and I, we both know them really well. I know them, very well personally too. Coach Moore, Coach Boomer, Coach Johnson, Coach Kilgore, and a bunch of other ones. How have these guys just impacted you as a player, but even more importantly, off the field?
Yeah, I think Coach Boomer has definitely had the biggest influence on my life, especially like in the last year, switching to tight end, really getting to know him a lot more. It's been really cool to just see him off the field too. Just going out to dinner whenever we can, and he's been a really cool mentor on and off the field. He's a great guy and loves to watch film and loves to just be a student of the game. And so that's been huge for me in the last year of just kind of him pouring into me in that to really become a student of the game in my last season. So yeah.
So I want to broaden things a little bit, Damon. Obviously, football is one of the sports on campus for this fall, but there's much more than that. And there's so many students who are coming onto this campus this week, and they're wide-eyed, and they're probably a little nervous and a little anxious and what's going to happen in the coming weeks. For someone who's stepping in, whether they be a freshman or a transfer coming into Northwestern, and they're an athlete specifically, listening to this, what advice would you give them when, they may have a little nerves, they're probably excited, but this is a whole new experience.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I just go back to the flexibility thing. Just be ready for change because it's definitely a lot different here on campus. And just be willing to buy into the culture too. Especially like when we do things like breakaway, it's really hard for guys that are just in for the nitty gritty of football.
Sure.
And it's like there's more to it than just football. There's a relationship there, and there's, God is at the center, like I've said. And so I think just really buying into the culture, being flexible, and then just being willing to kind of do new things and whatever that means is really big. And make friends, have fun.
That's awesome. Great advice. Well, really appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Last question I have for you, a fun one. The most favorite UNW football moment.
Sure.
You've been around a long time.
Yeah.
You've seen a lot. You've been a part of a lot. You've made some big moments yourself. Going to be some bigger and even better moments this year. We're excited to watch. Yeah. But so far, what's been your most favorite, the best UNW football moment you've been a part of?
I think for myself personally, I think one of my favorite moments is actually breakaway my sophomore year. I ended up getting baptized up there at Hope Shores, which was a really cool thing and really like impactful for me in my life. I was making some big changes that summer. And so I really wanted to kind of take that next step that I'd been kind of trying to figure out if like that's something that God wanted me to do. And so I kind of made that leap at breakaway around my brothers. And so that was really cool. Another big one was actually the Westminster game, but not for myself. So Gavin Bowser actually comes into the game and we're always in the same warm-up line. And I noticed that he's down a little bit. And so I'm like, dude, are you doing all right? Like, what's going on? He's like, dude, my grandpa died last night, the night before. And so I was super bummed about that and just prayed with him before the game. And then he goes out and right before me, he has a punt block and runs that in for a touchdown. And so just getting to celebrate in the end zone with him was really cool. And he went out and had a great game. He had forced fumble recovery, and then the punt block. I think he had a couple more things. But, yeah, it was really cool to see him go crazy after hardship.
He had a club on his hand for a lot of last season.
Yes, he did.
Did he have it on his hand that game? I'm trying to remember if he did.
I think that might have been the first game without it.
Okay.
But I can't remember because
trying to grab the ball.
Well,
with the
he
club.
probably didn't have it on for that.
It's super cool.
Well, that's awesome, man, and it's not surprising that we asked you about your favorite moment, and you immediately start talking about your teammates too. You've been a fun guy to watch on the field, but I know Northwestern football really appreciates your contributions on the field, but even more so the leader and teammate you are off the field. So just really appreciate you giving us time today. We wish you the absolute best this season. We can't wait to watch it. And thank you so much for giving us some time this afternoon.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.